Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be recreating this two-piece with a side drawstring on the side of the blouse. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. So I made use of 3 yards of crepe material, and I folded this with her tie divided by 2 plus 1 inch. So the tie I'm working with is 30 is 15 plus 1, that's 16. Okay, as you can see, I folded 16 inches. Okay, so now we are going to mark the crotch. The crotch is the hip divided by 4. Okay, the hip I'm working with is 48, so 48 divided by 4 will give us 12, right? So I'll be marking 12 here like this. And as you can see, I placed my tape on 2 at the starting line. That 2 inches I'm taking out is for my band, okay? So place 2 on your starting line and start marking your crotch. So the 2 I am taking out is for the waistband. So now I'm going to mark the hip line. Hip line is usually 2 inches above the crotch line. So I'll be using my ruler. This ruler is measured 2 inches. So I'll just use it and then mark out my 2 inches. And this will be my hip line. Okay. So next we are going to be marking the length of the trouser. So here I'm going to place my tape on 2 and then I'll measure the length I am working with plus 2 inches for folding allowance. Okay, sorry guys, that part is not showing. So what I did was to measure the length 42 plus 2 inches, that's 44, plus 2 inches for folding allowance. Okay, that is what I just marked. So next we'll be marking the knee line. So the knee line is from your crotch line. You divide your crotch line and your hem line into 2, and then you go up by 1.5 to mark your knee line. So that is what we are going to be doing now. So here, this is the crotch line. I'll measure from the crotch line and the actual length, not the folding allowance. So measure from the crotch line to the actual length, and then you go up by 1.5. So that is what I did here to get your knee line. So that serves as our knee line. So here to mark the waist, I'm going to come here, go in by 1 inch, that is the waistline, and then I'll connect that to the hip line like this. Okay, so at that point, I'm going to mark the crotch divided by, the tie divided by 2 plus 1 inch, that's the 16 already. So I don't need to mark anything here. I'm marking the hip divided by 4 plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. That's on the hip line. So on the waistline, I'm going to mark her waist divided by 4 plus 1 inch. Her waist is 36, divided by 4 is 9, plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. And then if you are using a dart, you add plus 2 inches. 1 inch for that, 1 inch for sewing allowance, but I'm not using that, so that's why I did like that. So here I'm carving out the crotch, just very simple. So next we are going to mark out our palazzo. So we don't need the knee line, it's just for reference purpose. So on the hemline, you come and mark 1.5 at the hemline inward like this. Just mark 1.5, take out 1.5, and then you connect that to the crotch line, just like I am doing. Okay, and then from that line you mark, from the 1.5 inches you mark, you measure out how wide you want yours to be. So for this, I'm making use of 12 inches. Okay, 12 inches, that include the sewing allowance, so you can do more or less. So I'm just going to connect that straight to the knee line, and then I'm going to stop at the knee line and use a curve ruler to connect it to the crotch line, just like I am showing you. Okay, and here we are done cutting the front panel, and next we'll just cut this out. So on the waistline here, I'm going to leave ½ inch for joining of the waistband. So as you can see, I am cutting and I did not cut exactly on the line. I left ½ inch for the waistband. So now we are going to fold to cut the back. So here I folded my fabric again for the back panel. I folded into two. So just make sure you have up to 2.5 to 3 inches at the side where my hand is. Okay, left 1.5 and 1 inch on this side, and then 2.5 to 3 inches here. Okay, at the top make sure you have up to 1 inch. So here I'm going to measure 2.5 and I'll measure what I have here. This is 10 inches, and I'm going to mark that from that 2.5 from this line. Okay, this line, not the allowance. So I'm going to measure the 10 upward like this. So where I measure that 10, I'm going to go up by 1 inch from the inside line, not the sewing allowance, because I'll still add allowance for the back. So here I'll connect that to this point with my ruler, just like this. Okay, so now I'm going to measure what I have to be sure is accurate. So here it's accurate. So you are going to connect that to your lower thigh. So lower thigh is 3 inches below your crotch line. So I will measure out, I'm going to curve with my hip curve towards the lower thigh, just as shown. Okay, so next we are going to add, we are done for this side. We are going to be adding 1 inch to the crotch and down to the hem. So I'll add 1 inch here, 1 inch, 1 inch down to the hemline. Okay, 1 inch on the inseam of your trouser down to the hemline, and I'm going to connect that from the hem up to the knee line. And when I get to the knee line, I will use my curve ruler also to connect this way. Okay, so now we are done connecting that. We are going to curve our crotch. So I'll be using this ruler because this is actually long, but if you can also use your free hand if you want. So here I'm going to connect the crotch like so. And guys, I made a mistake. I want to add that to the back. I forgot to add my dart allowance, so I'm going to do that later. So if you're marking yours, you mark exactly what you have at the front and then you add your dart. I did not use that for the front because I'll be using pocket. So if you are using pocket, you want to add your dart, you can still do that. But if you don't want to add that, just mark your waist and your sewing allowance. So now I'm going to cut this. Every other side remains the same apart from all these places that we added extra. Like this part I'm cutting is the same, so just this part that we added extra that you're going to be cutting out, just like I am showing you. So now we are going to go cut the inseam. Okay, so on the process of cutting, I realized I did not add my dart allowance, so I paused and then add my dart allowance. Okay, so I just remembered I did not add 1 inch for my dart, and I did that now, and I just reconnected the allowance to the crotch line like this. Okay, so if you're marking yours, remember to add your dart allowance, which is 1 inch. So here I'm cutting this out now. So I'll not cut exactly on that line. I'll add ½ inch for my sewing allowance also, like this, for joining of the band. And we are done with our trouser cutting. We are done with palazzo. So you fold into two like this and notch That is where you're going to be sewing your dart, and the dart length is 5 inches. So now we are moving up to the blouse. So this is 1 yard, and I folded it into 2. I fold into 2 like this, and then I go ahead, I fold like so, and then I go ahead to fold this way again, because the length is by 60 and the length I'm working with is 30 including sewing allowance. So when you fold into 2, we already have our 30 inches length. Okay, so now I'm going to measure. As you can see, it's 30 inches. 30 inches, that includes the sewing allowance. So I'm going to mark my starting line so that we will not be confused. Okay, so this will serve as our starting line. So you do the length you want to work with. Okay, I'm just telling you the length of my client. So here I'm going to be marking her sleeve length. That's from the center bone of your neck down to your sleeve, just like we're making kimono. Okay, so is for my client, the length I'm working with is 15 plus 2 inches for sewing allowance. Okay, 15 plus 2 inches for sewing allowance, that will make it 17. So I'm going to mark 17 here like this. And the neck width I'll be working with is 3 inches, 3.5, neck width 3.5, and neck depth for the back is 1. And I'll connect it like this. And I'm going to slant the shoulder by 1.5 like so, and I'll connect it to the neck width just like this. Okay, so next I'm going to mark the neck depth for the front. So you can do whatever you want. For here I'm using 10 inches. Okay, I used 10 inches for mine, and I'm going to go in by half an inch like so, just half an inch, and I'll connect it to the neckline like this. Okay, so here I'm going to do the sleeve opening is her round sleeve divided by 2 plus 2 inches. Round sleeve divided by 2 plus 2 inches, 1 inch for allowance, 1 inch is for ease. Okay, so here I'm marking her waist, which is 17, and I'm going to mark the hip divided by 4 at the hemline first. The hip divided by 4 plus extra 3 or 4 inches, depend on how wide you want yours to be. Okay, so I did extra 3 inches, extra 3 inches for her, 1 inch for sewing allowance, 2 inches for ease. So you can do less, you can do more, and then I'll connect that. So here at the waist, I'm going to mark her waist divide by 4 plus extra 3 inches. Her waist divided by 4 plus 3 inches. Okay, and then I'll connect that to the hip line like this. So on this sleeve opening, you're going to measure what you have at the top at the shoulder line. Okay, you measure what you have at the shoulder line. What I have at the shoulder line is 17. Okay, and then I'm going to take 1 from it. I'm going to be marking 16 instead of the 17. Okay, so here I'm going to mark 16, and I'll connect it to the shoulder line like this, the shoulder slope like this. And then next I'll be marking the bust circumference of my client on that part, and then I'll add 3 inches. Okay, the bust divided by 4. If you are to mark your bust line, her bust line it falls exactly on that line, so no need of marking your bust line there. So you just mark the bust divided by 4 plus extra 3 inches. That is what I did here, and I'll just connect the lines together like this. Okay, and then I'll take it up straight. So here you're going to come down by 2 inches like so, and then you go in by 1 like this, and then you curve. Sorry, my hand is covering this. Okay, you just curve like so, and we are done. we are done with the blouse cutting. Okay, so because we'll be having a drawstring at the side, that's why I did not curve the down part. If you're not using a drawstring at the side, you need to curve the side of your top so that it will not be pointy after you join. So here, make sure to add your ½ inch for sewing allowance of the shoulder. Joining of the shoulder, you add ½ inch. So next I'm going to cut the back neckline first of all, just like this, and then next I'll cut the front neckline just like this. So we are done cutting the blouse also. Next we'll be joining it. Okay, so like I said before, at this end here, if you are not using drawstring, you just go up by 2 inches and curve it this way. But because we are drawing it here, so I don't need to do that. Okay, so I will leave it like this. Right, so now we will be cutting, we'll join it first before we cut the will I cut the band on the neckline. Okay, before we cut the design on the neckline, you need to join the two shoulders. So we'll be joining the two shoulders using ½ inch, ½ inch. Then you measure around the neckline. So next we're going to be cutting pocket for the trouser. So here I'm going to go in by 2.5 and I'll come down by 7 inches. So I'll connect it. You can use a straight ruler, you can use a curvy ruler. So but I love my pocket to be a little bit curved. So I am going to mark that out now like this, just a little bit curved like so. Okay, and I'll cut, but I'll not cut exactly on that line. I'll be leaving ½ inch for my sewing allowance like this. I'll not cut exactly on the line I marked. I'll be leaving ½ inch for sewing allowance, as you can see, right? So now we are going to slash the front waistline by 1 inch. Come down by 1 and then you connect it towards just like this. Okay, connect it just like I did and you cut out. Okay, okay, and we are done with the trouser. So in our next video we'll be showing how to join this together. So here is the pocket for the front. Is 14 inches by 14 inches, 14 inches wide, 14 inches long. Okay, 14 by 14. So you place the pocket right sides facing each other and then you keep this like so and you trace out the pocket side. Thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you on the sewing tutorial. I love you guys. Please like and subscribe, share also. Bye.